Hey everyone, my name's Adam Archer, and today we're going to be taking a look at currently one of my favorite knives. This is the Dalton Jackal. It was produced by Rob Dalton in about, I think, December of 2001 to April of 2002 with a lot of different variations. So as you can see right there, you can see why this is one of my favorite knives. It is a dual action automatic. So it's not a hidden release dual action like some of the ones in my collection, but it does have two different methods of opening the knife. First, of course, being this little lever on the back, and the next one being the thumb stud, which is equally as easy to open, as you can see right there, or you can, of course, flick it open, just like that. So let's talk a little bit about the variations, then we'll talk about some of the unique features about this knife and compare it to another dual action automatic. We have the ProTech ATAC right here, and we'll kind of show what the difference is and what makes this knife a little bit unique. So first off, talking about the variations, this did come in a lot of different colors. In this particular, we have a green handle with what appears to be silver, like paint splatters almost, as you can see here. And I believe the lines and the paint splatters are unique per knife, as all the other ones that I've seen have been a little bit different, have had more like circular paint splatters. So I think he did each of these kind of in a unique pattern, so that's very cool. So these came in green, black, camo, orange, and then the lines also came in different colors as well. The blades did come in a few variations. This one has a thumb stud and the 3 holes in the blade. There were some with a thumb stud and no holes, some with 2 holes, some with like indents in the blade instead of a thumb stud. So they had a lot of different variations of the blade as well. And then there were also where you could get it in Damascus. I believe almost all of Rob Dalton knives use ATS 34 or maybe 154 CM, which is basically the same blade steel. However, I haven't gotten a confirmation of that. Just whenever I see a knife that's a Rob Dalton and it says a blade steel, it's always one of those blade steels. Now let's go over the actual knife itself now that we have the variations down. So as you can see here, this is the green handle with the silver paint stripes. Also on the handle you have, of course, the Torque, or not Torques, but this is the Phillips screws on here, as well as, wait, is that called Phillips? Yeah. You have a oversized pivot, and that's one of the things that makes this knife a little bit unique. It is actually supposed to be a hand-tightened pivot, so no tools that you're supposed to use on that. You are just supposed to unscrew that by hand. And that's actually designed so that you don't over-tighten the pivot. So you can tighten that down, and really you can't over-tighten this so that the blade kind of locks up. They want to make sure that you're not going to lock that blade up by over-tightening it and make it so you either can't deploy it by your thumb or by using this little lever. So make sure, we're not in focus. There we go. And you can see extremely fast spring on there. When we go to the reverse side, you do, of course, still have that oversized pivot on there. And the pivot does not have the Rob Dalton logo on this particular knife. Some of the versions did have the logo, I think instead on the blade on the pivot, but I think some had both on the blade and pivot. But there you go. And we can take a good look at that logo. This is one of the cleanest logos I've seen on a Dalton. As you can see right there, just beautiful. Really like that logo. It is a, well, let's go back to the handle. We'll go to the blade later. It has basically the standard Rob Dalton pocket clip, which is basically a stainless or a titanium bead blasted pocket clip with 2 screws on there. So pretty standard, but it's functional. Very nice. Now going over to the blade. I believe I haven't talked about this. This is actually the second time I filmed it because I was a little bit too rambly in the first video. It is I'm guessing around a 3.2 inch blade. I know it's under 3.5 inches, but I don't have an official measurement. But as you can see there, yeah, just under about 3.25 maybe is what measurement is. Blade steel on here is either 154 cm or ATS 34. They're basically the same blade steel, and that's what I hear whenever I hear of Daltons. Although I haven't gotten a confirmation that this particular one is that blade steel. It's really the blade steel that Dalton uses. So as you can see here, let's see, that is hollow ground. In terms of being hand ground by Rob Dalton, I don't believe these were. I believe this was made after the period that he was hand grinding knives. So I do like the two-tone texture on here. You can see it has the satin flats and then the bead blast grinds. Just very attractive on there. The handle, or going back to the handle, you have a two-piece construction, so it is two pieces of aluminum rather than having a backspace or anything like that. And then, of course, you do have the separate piece for the little lever. Hopefully that was in frame because I wasn't looking at all. What makes this knife a little bit unique also compared to some other hidden release or dual action automatics is the fact that it uses a coil spring rather than a torsion bar or a leaf spring. So in most cases, such as the ProTech ATAC, you'll actually have a leaf spring, or basically grab another knife that actually you can see the leaf spring, right? So, in this knife, this isn't a dual action, but you can see the leaf spring. You actually have a spring that would push up against the blade to make it fire. Now, what makes that easy for these dual action automatics is the fact that you can keep the button pushing against that spring the entire time. So, as long as you are not pressing that button, the spring isn't deploying. However, it's a little bit more complicated when it is a coil spring that is keeping or that you can use as the deployment method with a dual action. I only know of really one other dual action automatic that uses a coil spring, which I believe that is a Microtech. I think that is the... Oh goodness, I don't remember. I know it was a Microtech that I had seen that uses a coil spring. Maybe the Select Fire? I don't recall. But that is one of the kind of unique features on this knife, the fact that it uses a coil spring rather than a leaf spring. It does feature a liner lock. It is a rather thin liner lock, as you can see right there, but completely functional. And is that... It looks like it's titanium because I can see some heat coloring in there. So, there we go. Let's just show this knife up in good or a higher detail. We'll just zoom in on this so you can see it. I think I've talked really all I can about it. And we'll open it a few times. One of my favorite things about having this be a coil spring is the fact that with coil springs, you can replace them pretty easily. You can just buy them on eBay or whatever. Versus the leaf springs, those are incredibly difficult. Really, if you can't send it back to the maker, then you're not getting it fixed. Or you're going to spend a lot of money for a custom knife maker to make you a new spring. That's really your only options. And that's what's happened with a lot of those old, like Schrade automatics. People just, the springs break and you have to send it to a professional in order to get a replacement spring. They're not really made to be replaced. So there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This is probably one of my favorite knives, so I may have rambled a little bit more than normal with this knife, or been a little bit more scattery. It's just a fun knife. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Have a great day. Let's show that actually next to the ProTech ATAC. Another hidden release automatic. So this the ProTech ATAC actually uses when you press part of the scale, it releases the spring. So this isn't a hidden release. You can pretty obviously see what releases that button. And I think people are probably wondering, can you release that button when the blade is open, when you open it manually? Yes, you don't want to do that because that's actually going to release the spring and can potentially damage the inside since it's not releasing the momentum against the blade. It will just hit the spine. A lot of hidden release dual action automatics do break when you release it when it's open. So you don't want to do that, although it is possible. There's no like protector or safety to prevent you from doing that. Anyways, I think I've talked enough. See you guys later.